Hello trainers and welcome back to another video with Project Artemis. I'm super excited to share this Zoro Arch deck, as I like to call it, with you for the post-rotation format. This is a really interesting take on Archaludon EX using the power of Zoroark and Zoroark EX as well, to give you additional draw power, which is something that Archaludon had been lacking a lot in previous versions of the deck. So the ability from Zoroark EX trade, once you're turning, discard a card and draw 2 cards. Very good ability in the history of the game, just like Refinement Kirlia. Yeah, it's really a good engine, and this can also help us discard our metal energies as well to get them in the discard pile faster, to use Archaludon EX, our main attacker, to utilize its ability Assemble Alloy. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve it, you may put 2 metal energies from your discard pile onto this Pokemon, or any metal Pokemon in any way you like, actually. So it lets us power up Metal Defender in 1 turn, basically. A 3 metal energy attack does 220 damage. And the really important part about this secondary effect is that it removes any weakness that the Pokemon has. So Pokemon that previously did weakness, like Chiyu or Moltres with some modifiers, can no longer 1-hit KO Archaludon EX after you use Metal Defender. They can get around this if you bring it to the bench and then put it back in the active, like with Counter Catcher plus Boss Swords, but we don't have Counter Catcher anymore, so the only way would be like Prime Catcher or something like that, but some other ability on a Pokemon. But yeah, since we don't have Counter Catcher, it makes it really hard for them to take advantage of a 1-hit KO on Archaludon with weakness. Not that there's many fire type Pokemon running around the format, but some people are playing like Blaziken EX and Dragapult. That's a big one. So yeah, something like that can be important. Just you don't have to evolve 2 Archaludons at the same time. You can just have 1 in play, which means they can't boss around it for 2 prizes. So yeah, really consistent, just simple kind of deck, but it can put in a lot of work. So 220 damage kills a lot of things, like most Pokemon, like support Pokemon, are around that range, like Fezandipiti, Meowth EX, Latias. So just really easy to continuously target those Pokemon down, or put on early pressure on evolving decks, like on Dreepies, Drakloaks, Grimmsnarls, and then like smaller stuff like Festival Lead. Like it's really good with, especially being metal type, it has grass resistance. So yeah, overall really good attacker. And we also have the Mega Mawile EX in here. Now this will be kind of our late game closer. The Gobble Down is the main attack we're going to be using for 2 metal energies. Does 80 damage for each prize card that you have taken, not your opponent. So it's like the opposite of Charizard EX, if you're familiar with that. Meaning when we take 4 prize cards, we can start 1-hit KOing Dragapult EX at 320 HP. So yeah, that's a really cool card. You can like manually attach to it for a couple turns as well, and like set it up in advance, and then set up like a couple different threats. But you can also just like bench a Mega Mawile, have a couple Duraludons on your bench. You can evolve one of them and then instantly power this up as well without having any energies in your hand if you have Archaludon. So that's pretty cool. Then we also have a Mega Skarmory EX in here. Now I've seen a lot of lists not including this one. I think it's really cool. Just another late game option to close out the game. The Sonic Ripper attack says for double metal and a colorless, you can do 220 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon, meaning you can snipe off those bench Pokemon like Fezandipiti or Meowth. Again, like I said, however, you don't need boss's orders to do it. So this can mean that you can turn a Cyrano into an Archaludon EX and the Skarmory EX, and kind of effectively turns your Cyranos also into boss's orders, because you can access your opponent's bench in that way. So really good inclusion. I haven't used it too much, but it is a nice option to have. It also does have free retreat, which is really big, but obviously having a lot of mega Pokemon in play, or like these 2 like as an additional thing you can start, can be annoying. I would say try this out. If you don't like it, you can always swap it for other things for consistency, which I can mention later. And then of course Fezandipiti EX, really good draw power. Every deck is playing that. Petron EX, now this card is like, you can't attack with it. Obviously it's a really good attacker as well, but we don't have any dark energy, so we're not going to be attacking with Zoroark, we're not going to be attacking with Fezandipiti. However, the Petron is literally just there to prevent us from getting retreat locked or trapped in the active. Like if your opponent is trying to trap a Zoroark and like spread damage to it, or just like get you stuck, just bench Petron, and then you can like move Fez or another Zoroark into the active, and then Air Balloon, retreat it, and yeah, it just prevents you from getting retreat trapped, which is really nice. Relicanth, not EX, Relicanth with the Memory Dive ability, you can use Pokemon's attacks from previous evolutions, which comes really in handy when your opponent hits into our Archaludon EX, and then you can use the Baby Duraludon's Raging Hammer attack, which does 80 damage plus 10 more damage for each damage counter on it. Now, this is really good historically against decks that would try and spread like Lugia or Regidrago. When you get hit for 200, you can do 280 and then knock out the EXs, or the V-Stars, sorry. And then nowadays, it's Pokemon like stage 2s are like a little bit harder to reach, like Dragapult, but we do have like Black Belt's training in here. So if they hit us for 200, we can do 280 plus 40 with Black Belt's training to do 320 damage to knock them out in return with the Relicanth. Now, the Relicanth is like not that great in a lot of situations, but can be good for random situations. I think it's probably worth the inclusion if you're playing just an Archaludon deck. And I do think I probably want to have an additional Black Belt's training in this deck just to be able to find it more often to utilize against Dragapult, since that's like one of the literally the most popular deck in the format. So I'd probably increase my Black Belt count to 2. And then yeah, go from there. 4 Lilies for consistency. We want to maximize our draw in the early game. 4 Boss's Orders. You just always want to be able to have access to your opponent's bench as much as possible. 2 Judge. I did find myself kind of wishing I had another Judge sometimes, because having one, like using it early and then like finding the second one can be kind of annoying later. But yeah, there's some room to play around with the supporters and the Pokegear counts and stuff like that. 2 Cyranos. This card is really, really good. Like I said, it combos really well to help us find our EX Pokemon. Like we can just have a bunch of Duraludons on our bench turn 1, or Duraludons and Zoroas, and then you can just go Cyrano for Zoroark, Archaludon, and then just like start going. Really, really good. Maybe not as good in the late game, but it's always live because you always have all these Pokemon to grab. So yeah, pretty good. 2 I think is a good number. And then we have 4 Pokepads, 4 Ultra Balls. Fortunately, we can't Poffin for the Duraludons, and playing Poffins just for Zorua doesn't really provide that much value, because you can kind of just like find your Zoruas earlier in the game, and then you don't ever use Poffin after that. Usually you only need like 2 Zoruas on your bench, or 2 Zoroarks on your bench, maybe 3 sometimes if you think it'll get knocked out. But yeah, so Pokepads and Ultra Balls are like kind of enough, and you don't want to go any less than 4 Ultra Balls, because they really help find your attackers and your Zoroarks, and then also help get Metal Energies in your discard pile. 2 Pokegears. We can like go up on the Pokegear counts to maybe try and find like your Judge and your Cyranos more often, but I would maybe consider putting like Black Belt in here. Maybe I cut the Skarmory if I don't think I'm using it that much, just so, because Dragapult is just like so popular, and some of the Dragapult lists aren't even playing Meowth or Fez in them, like the winning list from Prague. So yeah, I'd probably maybe try experiment with that a little bit. 3 Night Searchers. Night Searchers are really good in this deck. Just lets us recover our Pokemon and energy. Obviously just like a really good card in general, but we can get back Fez, we can get back if they knock out an Archaludon, we just instantly have access to an Archaludon again from the discard pile without needing to play Ultra Ball, which is really good. 2 Air Balloons. I think this is a comfortable number for mobility. Like if you start something that isn't Duraludon, it can be kind of annoying to attack on the first turn, or like on your second turn if you can't find the Air Balloon. But with Lily and Zoroark, you can usually draw into them by the time you need them. And Hero's Cape is our A-Spec. This card definitely helps change a lot of situations and matchups. It can be really good to, like, if you start something that you don't want to, you can just like protect your Fez or your Mawile on the bench, so you'll have a 370 or 300 plus HP basic Pokemon plus your 300 HP Archaludon, and just like make everything super big. Or by the end of the game, if you are able to like Judge plus Hero Escape your opponent, you can set up a 400 HP Archaludon and make your opponent have like Boss's Orders or something. If they can't knock out your active, you can buy yourself effectively like 1 or 2 more turns sometimes. I'm not really sure like what A-Spec I would put instead in this deck. If you didn't want to play Hero Escape, maybe like Secret Box is just really good for consistency as well. Could try that, but or Scoop Up Cyclone. Scoop Up Cyclone is always really good as well to pick up like liabilities, or just like heal a damage Archaludon and put it back down. Never a bad card to have. But yeah, I think Hero Escape has been pretty good. I've been liking this inclusion. And then we have a couple Watchtowers in here. We don't necessarily like care about stadiums too much, I think, maybe like besides Jamming Tower. But yeah, Watchtower can be really good to slow our opponent down, be aggressive with like Judge, Watchtower, and not let them have access to Noctowls or Meowth EX or something like that. So that can be really good to close out games. And then 9 Metal Energies. I think I would like to have maybe one more Metal Energy. Like sometimes I felt like it was a little bit short on attacking earlier in the game, but I think 9 is a pretty comfortable number, and there's probably some other stuff I would want to put in here before then. So yeah, that's the list. It's pretty fun, really simple, really cool though, and yeah, show you guys how it runs in some of these games.
Hey y'all, Eliza here from Project Artemis, and I just wanted to give a quick shout out to this video's sponsor, Heavy Play. They're able to hook the team up with some super cool products like the Heavy Play RFG Deck Box Carrier. Able to fit multiple Heavy Play products, such as 5 of the RFG deck boxes as well as a dice tray, or 4 of the 133 double sleeve deck boxes. On top of that, because of the Equip Mag system, you're able to latch on a playmat too, or if you have more deck boxes that you need to carry, you can always attach those so you can go a little bit wide. I super appreciate everything that they do for the team and the different products they hook us up with, so shout out to Heavy Play. Now, back to the video.
Okay, so getting into our first game here, looks like we're going to be playing against Dragapult, and unfortunately we did start the Mega Mawile EX, which is bad for multiple reasons. Obviously we don't want to have a 3-pies Pokemon in play if we can avoid it. It also is really easy target for my opponent to Phantom Dive and set up for damage later in the game. Luckily we're able to Lily and find some basics for our evolutions like Duraludon and Zorua. Here I actually think I made a pretty significant misplay. I wasn't quite thinking about Voodoo, but I should have played the Ultra Ball to discard the Metal Energies and just grab something. I figured I could hold it and then maybe next turn discard whatever I top decked or maybe something else, and then I could just like get something based on what I need. But yeah, if I didn't play the Ultra Ball and I got Voodoo, then that would have been really bad for me. Luckily my opponent did not go into Itchy Pollen, which is very helpful for us, so I didn't get got pretty lucky there. And we're gonna go ahead and just start using trade. I think we just want to set up here a little bit more. We do need the air balloon to move this Mega Mawile, which we currently don't have, so there's still a chance we could draw it off like this Judge, for example. So we could draw like air balloon energy, and that would be enough for us to attack this turn, which would be really strong. Unfortunately we missed the energy, but our hand for next turn is pretty good. However, I don't want to leave the Mega Mawile in the active here, because if it gets Phantom Dive, that would be extremely bad. So I decide I'll just retreat into the Archaludon. Next turn I can find the Metal Energy, and then we can go ahead and attack. If they do, for some reason, Phantom Dive into my Archaludon, that's like pretty good for us, because we could then potentially find like Relicanth plus Black Belt to win a KO. That would be like obviously a really hard thing to pull off with just 2 cards in a Zoroark, but it is a possibility, and that is what they end up doing. But we're just gonna have to play this Lily. I think we need to set up a little bit more. I didn't want to leave Zoroark or Duraludon or the Mawile in the active, because that would just be really bad for us. So here I noticed that they already used a Crispin, and they don't have any other energies in play on the bench. So if I just go ahead and Metal Defender here for 220, I should be able to 2-hit KO it. Even if they get a Dark on their Monkey Dory to move the damage, it'll still knock out over 2 turns. And I think I'm like okay with them knocking out my Archaludon here, because then the following turn I can put some more pressure on. Like this turn they could have attached a Psychic or a Fire to the Dracloak, but instead they decided to attach a Dark, which I don't know if they had it available in their hand. Probably not. But yeah, maybe they could have Lilied into a Fire or Psychic and then set up back-to-back Dragapult Phantom Dives. But now it might be pretty difficult for them to attack us. So they do have Moltres here, which luckily for Archaludon, the secondary effect of Metal Defender is that it removes the weakness of the Pokemon. So it won't get 1 KO'd by Moltres. I think even with weakness it still wouldn't 1 KO. But yeah, the extra damage not coming through is really nice for us if they do decide to attack with the Moltres. So What we can do is here just set up some more basics. And I think I just want to like be able to draw some more cards. Next, I do want to try and find Judge this turn. Unfortunately, I don't find it. We do play only 2, so it's like not that reasonable for me to have missed the Judge there. Yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and Metal Defender, knock this out. It should be pretty hard for them to Phantom Dive next turn, which is really good for us. And if they do Phantom Dive somehow, our deck is like getting smaller and smaller, so like we should have a pretty reasonable chance at finding like a black belt or something if we need to. So let's see what they do here. They use another Crispin, and now most lists I think are only playing 2 Crispin, so this means they should if they're gonna attack here, looks like they don't even Phantom Dive. Okay, but yeah, they probably won't have another way to accelerate energies, right? So now with this Archaludon, if I want to attack with it, I will have to put the Hero's Cape on it, because if I give them damage, they'll be able to Phantom Dive me next turn and go down to 2 prizes, which would be really, really bad for us. But with the Hero's Cape, we should be able to survive this, and unless they have like Boss on Mawile, they will not be able to go down to 2 or less prize cards. And even if they do knock out the Mawile, I can evolve the other Duraludon on my bench, and then like nothing is going to be in range for them, which is really good, right? And so now I'm like for sure going to knock out this Dragapult, and then depending on what they do, if they make another Dragapult and somehow if they have like Rose's Encouragement or something on the following turn to Phantom Dive, I should be able to knock it out with the Mawile, right? So if I attach an energy to the Mawile, I'm like threatening to win against another Dragapult by using Gobble Down, and that does 320 damage when we're at 4 prize cards, so that is pretty good. And for some reason my opponent pre-evolved a Dragapult. Maybe they were scared of like Judge or something, but I don't think they need to, right? The Recon Directives would be way more valuable to draw them extra cards this turn and the next turn. Instead they just pre-evolve that Dragapult, which is like extremely good for us, right? Because once I knock out this Dragapult, then I can just find like Boss plus energy and win the game with my last 2 prize cards. But if they hadn't evolved it, I'd maybe need another turn and then like have to hope they can't power up another Dragapult as well. Okay, so yeah, it looks like they don't have the Rose's Encouragement or another way to power up Dragapult, so they do just kind of go into Badoo here, and they find Unfair Stamp, which makes sense, and they're gonna I guess try and stop me from maybe finding an energy with Night Stretcher or something like that from the Mawile. And also the funny part is this Moltres doesn't, oh, they don't item lock me, but this Moltres doesn't actually even want to KO my Archaludon because it doesn't have the weakness. Maybe they didn't realize it, but yeah, we do draw into Boss's Orders off of the Zoroark, so we can attach the Metal Energy, retreat, and knock out the Dragapult with Gobble Down. Also, I do want to note here that even if they didn't evolve the Dragapult on the bench, I probably still would have been able to win this game because of I could just take 2 prize cards on the 2 single prizers before they will do anything. Now they could go like Boss Phantom Dive on the following turn, but I can like Boss the Dracloak with the energy on it and then potentially slow them down from Phantom Dive even further. Getting into our second game here, it looks like we are up against a Arboliva Meganium Ogerpon deck. Luckily we are resisting grass, so that should make this matchup a little bit easier. I'll go ahead and just use Hammer in here in case for some reason they don't find their evolutions. We could knock out the Smoliv in 2 hits next turn and keep 1 prize attacker, but yeah, they end up finding the Dolph. Not a big deal here, as long as they don't find the Arboliva EX, which they do, so this will make it a little bit harder for us to knock out the Arboliva. Now the 30 damage does set up some math, which helps us a little bit. It's probably not going to matter too much, but good to have. And so their Lily was pretty good. They're able to find both their stage 2s immediately and with the Force of Vitality. Now the good thing about this matchup is that we do have a lot of smaller Pokemon on the bench, like Ogerpon and Meowth, that we can 1 KO with the Archaludon. But our Zoroarks are weak, so it does have a little bit of an interesting trade-off. If we can find an Ultra Ball here, that would be amazing, because then we could just go boss Archaludon, but unfortunately we don't. So I think I'm just going to have to hit into this Arboliva and see what we can do about that. We do find Ultra Ball just a little bit too late because we can't boss now. But yeah, let's see what we do. I maybe shouldn't have played that Pokepad there because maybe I want to Relicanth them depending on what they do. But I think it's not such a big deal. Anyways, we'll get to Zoroark down because they could knock out our Zoroark next turn in case we want to trade some. And our hand does kind of suck right now. So yeah, let's see. So they won't be able to 1 KO us with the Arboliva. They're going to have to go in with Ogerpon, and I think currently it's doing quite a bit of damage. So with the Meganium, it doubles each of their grass energies, and the Myriad Leaf Shower does 30 plus 30 more for each grass. So let's see if we can do some math. So they're doing 60 per energy right now, 240 plus 30 from a Myriad Leaf Shower, 270, and then yeah, also 3 for each energy on my Pokemon. 330 does 1 KO, 360 minus 30 with resistance definitely clears. So okay, now we need to figure out what the plan is. We have to hope they can't 1 KO us back to back. It will be a lot of energies for them, so I think we literally just need to knock out the active and disrupt them probably with Judge. It's probably the best call. And knocking out the Meganium is actually really bad for us because we would have to take 4 knockouts to win, whereas here we will still need to take 4 attacks to win, but it'll be hopefully only 3 more Pokemon that we knock out, because they do have enough 220 HP Pokemon on their bench. Even if they were to somehow play Scoop Up Cyclone and pick one up, we could knock out the Meowth and Ogerpon still. But yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and Heroes Cape this Archaludon and make them need a lot of energy. And okay, so they just have Boss's Orders, but if they don't have Boss again and like enough energies, I don't think they're gonna be able to knock out our Zoroark. But yeah, we're just gonna hope they don't have it. I think we can try and dig for Judge here with the Pokegear and trade and flip the script. And I don't know if the Judge really matters all too much, to be honest, because they already have like 5 cards. Like sure, it reduces it by like 2, but nothing like too crazy going on here. The only other play is like I could like boss the, I maybe should have held off on evolving the Archaludon. I think I realized mid-turn. I could boss the like Meowth or the Meganium or something, and then I could Skarmory snipe one of the like the Meowth off the bench, not the Ogerpon because it has Terra. But yeah, I could have sniped the Meowth and then like maybe gone back into Archaludon and boss the following turn, so I would have made them have a lot more cards to get the playoff. But it seems like they actually don't have a knockout, so they're just gonna go ahead and boss and Ichipon, and luckily we do already have Air Balloon and boss in hand, so yeah, Metal Defender will close out the game here.